All right, today I want to talk about three, I think, great ideas to recruit volunteers and one that I would try to avoid. Hi, my name is Eric with a K, and I am the host of the Practical Youth Ministry Tips podcast. And I'm so glad you're here today. Thanks for jumping on. I, we need volunteers, right? In youth ministry, you just have to have volunteers. There's a certain point where you can't lead by yourself anymore. And honestly, for safety and security, for your best and for your leader's best and your students' best, you don't want to do it by yourself anyhow. There's plenty of reasons why you should never do ministry alone and not be alone with a student by yourself, okay? Huge thing to think about. But do you know that when you have more volunteers, you can impact more students at a deeper level? Okay, I want to hit the three key ways that I think are really good at gaining more volunteers. Number one, ask your current volunteers who would be great. Matter of fact, this month, give your volunteers a challenge. When you meet together with them, when you do one-on-one, when you meet as a team, challenge them. You have 30 days. I want you to bring me one name. Anybody can come up with one name. Give me one name of somebody in church that would be a good volunteer that could join our team. Get their contact info and then call them up. Here's what's great about that. When a volunteer gives you that information, you call this person, you say, or you meet with them, you see them in church or whatever it is. You say, hey, Misty told me you'd be a great volunteer on our youth ministry team, and I'd love to talk to you about that, what that could possibly look like. Find out why Misty thinks you'd be so great. When someone is asked to volunteer, when someone is pursued, there's something about being pursued that feels good. And then when you tell them that somebody else suggested them, that rises up. And it's not a vanity thing per se. It's like not a bad thing, but it makes you go, oh, somebody thinks that I could do a good job at this. And they gave the youth pastor my name. It makes them think. Right? So that's the first one. Have your current volunteers ask somebody, give them one name in the next month. The second one is similar. Ask your students. The next time you meet with your students, put a sign-up sheet per se, like pass around a clipboard with a paper, and then ask your students, who do you think would be a really good volunteer in the youth ministry? Now, I put some caveats on there. Make clear that you're looking for someone that has graduated. That's maybe you have a rule that's 2 years out of high school before they volunteer in high school ministry. I think it's really good because otherwise they're just coming to hang out with their friends. And that's a blurred line that's really difficult to keep clear. But so you want to make sure you give a few clear lines, like they need to be a couple of years out of high school. They need to be a Christian. I literally have had that. I called somebody and they said, oh, I'd love to volunteer. Turns out they were 16 years old. And I was calling them about volunteering in high school ministry. So I kind of made a hard turn in the conversation towards volunteering in the ministry as part of a student ministry leadership team. And that actually turned out to be good. The other one is I had someone recommend someone they knew that was an adult. They didn't go to church. They weren't a Christian. They were part of the YMCA. And so it's probably a good idea to ask a few leading questions when you make that first contact, but set up the boundaries for your students. One of the things that it does, the same as it does when you have a volunteer's name you can use, a current volunteer's name you can use, is you can say, hey, this 15-year-old student said that you would be really great at being part of this team. I would love to sit down and talk with you about what that potentially could look like. There's something about, like, a lot of people go, I can't, I'm not relevant. I don't have anything that's in common with students. For years, 12 out of my 30 years, I was specifically a middle school pastor. And so that's even more difficult to recruit for, because I could do high school, but I don't think I could do middle school. When I tell someone, hey, a student recommended you, there's something in the psyche, something in the brain. I'm not smart enough to figure all that stuff out, but there's something in there that says, oh, this is someone that's part of the ministry that thinks I could do a good job. It changes their perspective. So asking a volunteer, a current volunteer, asking a student, I think is a really great way to go and recruit. And the third one, and I would say this one should be the most obvious, go ask people you know. My friend Angel, he's the youth director at our church, and he started in January, and immediately he went after a few people that he knows. And so we have a few people on the team that are there because Angel knows them, and he asked them to join him on the team. We have one lady that travels about 40 minutes to come to church on a regular basis and is part of the team because Angel asked. There's a power in the ask. Honestly, I don't know if people are sitting waiting for people to ask them to volunteer with something, but I believe in the power of ask. Like, it's a lot easier for someone to say yes to an ask than it is for them to initiate coming to you. Don't just hope people are going to show up to volunteer. They need to be pursued. We all long to be pursued. We want to be wanted. I want you to want me. So ask someone you know. You're like, there's nobody left in the church, I don't know. Well, if the church has 10 people in it, one is the lead pastor, one is you, so that means there's 8 more people, and 7 of them already volunteer with you. That means there's one person. If they all volunteer with you, I mean, like, that's kind of a ridiculous scenario, right? But usually if it's a church plant, I think everybody does everything, right? So, but they still have their areas that they want to focus on. So there's always somebody that we can pursue after. What if I just started at this church? Have people introduce you to other people. Get yourself invited to some meals. Invite people over to your home. Invite some current volunteers and say, hey, would you just bring a friend? We're going to do a game night at my house. Bring somebody that you know. Get to know some people. Maybe you're a 2-service church, but you only have one service where you do student ministry, and the other service that you attend has people that maybe they're older than what you are looking for. Here's the reality. There are a lot of people that I think would be great volunteers that we miss because we say the no for them. They're too old. They're too busy. They're too unqualified. They're too fill in the blank. Don't say somebody's no for them. And you know what? Some of the greatest volunteers are people who have had lots and lots of years in life. Don't say no. Don't say a no for somebody just because they're older and out of like what your typical thought would be for somebody to volunteer. In an upcoming episode, I'm going to talk about 2 things. One, what I do when I meet with a volunteer one-on-one. And then another one, I'm going to talk about when I invite a group of people to come and hear about the youth ministry. I think is a great idea. That's coming. Now, here's the one way I would avoid using, and it's the one that feels the easiest. Announcements. Hey, we need to talk about this. If the church thinks this, if the leadership thinks this is important, we need to be announcing that there's a need for student ministry volunteers. Let me tell you why I would avoid that. One, you don't control who you go after. All sorts of people may sign up. It may not be a terrible thing, okay? And I'll tell you why in just a moment. But it doesn't, you don't control the conversation anymore, if you will. The other thing, now I will say this caveat. I had a really great volunteer that came as a result of a church announcement. And we had a ministry fair. It was after church, and the pastor talked about, we're doing this ministry fair, and all of our ministries are outside. So go on outside and meet different people from these different ministries and talk to them about potentially volunteering. So we got this really wonderful lady who came and talked to me, and we talked about what it could be and blah, blah, blah. Set up our one-on-one appointment. And she called me about 15 minutes before our appointment. She goes, hey, Eric, I know we've already set this appointment up. I don't know that I'm going to be the best person for it. I said, why don't you come in? We already have it planned. We already got, both of us have our time slot in. Let's just talk. She came in. She turned out to be amazing. She just was scared. And I helped to take and remove some of the fears for her. So, but I don't think announcements is the best way to recruit. I would go after people that are known. Use your current volunteers, ask your students, and go after people that you know. All right. I don't know. Maybe you have some really great ways that you recruit other people. Would you let me know in the comments? Put that in there. That has potential to become a future episode. I would love to learn from you as well. So put it in the comments. If this was helpful to you, would you click the share button and let somebody else know? Would love it for more people to hear about what's going on in this channel. There's lots of other stuff we talk about, games and parents and strategy and all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. Check out the rest of the channel. We'd love to have you subscribe. And if you want, speaking of games, I have a free ebook and a free companion audiobook that goes along with it. I would love for you to give to you. Just click the link that's in the description down below, and I will send that to you right away. All right, thank you so much. We'll catch you next week right here on this channel. See ya.